The fire marshal stood at my locked gate with his clipboard, while Brielle Vandermeer screamed into her phone behind him, her white Range Rover blocking the access road that hadn't been maintained in 14 months. "You can't do this." Her voice carried across the canyon. "This is a public safety issue." I leaned against my truck, sipping coffee from a thermos that had belonged to my grandfather. The marshal looked at me, then at the chain and padlock, then at the overgrown road disappearing into the pines beyond. "Mr. Torres," he said quietly, "I need to complete this inspection by 3 p.m. or the whole development fails certification." "I understand," I said, "but this is private property, and I haven't given access permission." "You son of a..." Brielle started. The marshal held up one hand. "Ma'am, please, let me tell you how we got here. My name is Miguel Torres. I'm 53 years old, and until 18 months ago, I was a wildland firefighter based out of Durango. 26 years with the Forest Service, certified in wildfire behavior. Got my degree in forestry management from Colorado State back in '93. I've seen what happens when people build in fire country and pretend the rules don't apply to them. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Have you ever inherited property that came with problems you didn't expect? My grandfather, Vicente Torres, bought 900 acres in Mesa County back in 1967 for $8,000. It was scrubland then. High desert transitioning to pine forest, rattlesnakes and jackrabbits. Not much good for anything except running a few cattle and watching sunsets that'd make you believe in something bigger than yourself. He built a small ranch house in '69, raised my father there, kept to himself. The land bordered what was then open range on 3 sides. The 4th side ran along County Road 12. Vicente died last January at 94. I was his only grandkid. My father passed in 2008, my mother in 2015. The ranch came to me with a handwritten note in the safety deposit box. "Don't let them turn it into something it's not. Abuelo." I retired early from the Forest Service, knees shot, lungs compromised from smoke inhalation, pension vested. The timing felt like fate. I moved into the ranch house in March of last year, started fixing the place up. New roof, updated the well system, cleared the fire breaks Vicente had let grow over. The land itself was beautiful in a harsh way. Juniper and pinyon in the lower elevations, ponderosa pine climbing toward the ridgeline, deer trails crisscrossing the arroyos. In the evenings, I'd sit on the porch and watch the light change, and I'd understand exactly why my grandfather never sold. Then Ridgemont Heights broke ground. The development started in April, carved into the former ranch land on my eastern border. Some California investment group had bought the Henderson property, 2,000 acres, and planned a luxury community. 60 homes, starting at $1.2 million. Mountain views. Exclusive wilderness living. All the buzzwords that mean rich people want to pretend they're rugged while their landscapers do the actual work. The sales office opened in June. That's when I met Brielle. She was the HOA president before they'd even finished the model homes. 42 years old, moved from Malibu, married to a tech executive who worked remotely. She wore athleisure that cost more than my truck payment and talked about community vision like it was a religious calling. She showed up at my door on a Saturday morning in her Range Rover, all white teeth and yoga-tone confidence. "Mr. Torres? I'm Brielle Vandermeer, Ridgemont Heights HOA president. I wanted to introduce myself as your new neighbor." I'd been replacing fence posts. I put down my post hole digger and wiped my hands. "Neighbors are usually next door," I said. "You're half a mile away." Her smile never flickered. "Well, we're going to be sharing some infrastructure, so I thought we should connect. The fire access road that runs through your property, we'll need to formalize an easement agreement." That got my attention. I knew the road she meant. It was an old logging track from the '70s, ran from County Road 12 through the northwest corner of my land, then connected to what was now Ridgemont Heights. Vicente had let the logging company use it for one season, never formalized anything. The road was on my deed, my land, my responsibility. "There's no easement," I said. "Right, which is why we need to create one. Our development requires a secondary fire access route for county certification. This road is the only viable option. So fix the road and we'll talk terms." Brielle's smile thinned. "Actually, the county requires the easement holder to maintain it. That'll be you. We'll file the paperwork and send you the maintenance specifications. Should be simple." She handed me a folder, 40 pages of legal documents. and left before I could respond. I read the whole thing that night. The easement would give Ridgemont Heights permanent access rights across my property, require me to maintain a 20-foot wide road to commercial standards, hold me liable for any access delays, and compensate me exactly $0. I called the lawyer Vicente had used for estate planning. Nice guy named Martin Reyes. Office in Grand Junction. Can they do this? I asked. Martin read through the documents. They can file it. Doesn't mean a judge will approve it. You'd have grounds to fight. It's your property. There's no existing easement, and the burden they're placing is unreasonable. But litigation could take years and cost you $50,000 in legal fees. What if I just say no? Then they'll have to find another fire access route, which, looking at the terrain maps you sent, doesn't really exist. I smiled for the first time in 3 days. Then I'm saying no. Brielle didn't take it well. She appeared at my gate 4 days later with 2 board members, a plastic surgeon named Winston and a woman who introduced herself as a wellness entrepreneur, whatever that meant. They had the entitled confidence of people who'd never heard no without a lawyer present. Miguel, Brielle said, first naming me like we were friends. I think there's been a miscommunication. This easement is essential for community safety. Then pay for it, I said. Fair market rate for the land use, plus $50,000 a year for maintenance, plus liability coverage. Winston actually laughed. That's absurd. This is a public safety issue. It's private property. You want to use it, you pay for it. That's how property rights work. We could pursue condemnation, the wellness entrepreneur said. Eminent domain for essential services. I've been waiting for that. You could try, but you're not a government entity. This isn't essential infrastructure, and you'd have to prove there's literally no other option. I've got 26 years of wildfire experience. Want me to testify about the 6 alternative routes your engineers deliberately ignored because they'd cost more to develop? Brielle's expression went cold. You're being hostile to your own community's safety. Your community chose to build in fire country. That comes with requirements. Maybe you should have planned better. They left. 2 weeks later, the HOA filed for the easement anyway, claiming historical use and public necessity. Martin countered with a motion to dismiss, citing lack of standing and failure to demonstrate prior easement. The hearing was set for November. Meanwhile, I walked that old logging road. It was a mess. 14 months of runoff had carved gullies through the track. Fallen ponderosis blocked sections. The culverts Vicente had installed in the 70s were rusted through. In its current state, a fire truck would high center before making it 100 yards. I had 2 choices: maintain it out of goodwill, or let nature take its course. Vicente's note echoed in my head. Don't let them turn it into something it's not. I let nature handle it. The preliminary hearing in November went my way. The judge found no evidence of historical easement and told Ridgemont Heights they needed to either negotiate in good faith or find an alternative. Brielle sat in the gallery looking like she'd swallowed glass. That's when she started playing dirty. She filed complaints with the county, claimed I was creating a fire hazard by not maintaining public access infrastructure. The county sent an inspector who confirmed it was private property and dismissed the complaint. She contacted the Forest Service, suggested I might be illegally blocking federal firefighting access. My former supervisor called me personally to apologize for wasting my time. She posted on the Ridgemont Heights Facebook group that I was threatening community safety for personal profit and encouraged residents to pressure me. I don't have Facebook, but Martin's paralegal showed me the screenshots. 73 comments, most calling me selfish or worse. Then came the certified letter in January. The county fire marshal was scheduled to conduct the final safety inspection of Ridgemont Heights on March 15th. To pass certification, the development needed a functional secondary fire access route. If they failed, occupancy permits would be revoked. All 60 homes, 43 already sold, 17 still under construction, would be legally uninhabitable until the issue was resolved. The letter from Ridgemont Heights' lawyer was less polite than previous communications. Either grant the easement by March 1st or face a lawsuit for tortious interference with contract and public endangerment. Martin called me after reviewing it. Miguel, they're desperate. They've got $80 million in homes they can't legally occupy. Their buyers are threatening to sue. Their construction loans have penalty clauses for delayed completion. This could bankrupt the development. Good, I said. They might offer real money now. 6 figures, maybe more. I thought about it. I thought about Vicente, who'd watched developers circle this land for 50 years, who'd refused every offer because he understood that once you let them in, you never get it back. Tell them no, I said. Tell them to build their own damn road. February came. Brielle showed up at my door again, this time without the smile. She looked thinner, stressed. Even her Range Rover looked dusty. Name your price, she said. No price. No easement. You're destroying people's lives. Families who bought homes. Families who bought homes in fire country without checking if the development met safety requirements. That's on your builder and your HOA, not on me. We'll sue you into the ground. You're welcome to try. I've got a federal pension and 900 acres I own free and clear. What V you got? A bunch of angry millionaires and a development that can't pass inspection. She left without another word. March 15th arrived. I woke at dawn, made coffee, and drove my truck down to the gate where my property met County Road 12, the access point for that old logging road. The road Ridgemont Heights needed the fire marshal to approve. I'd installed a new chain and padlock 2 days earlier. Heavy gauge steel, bolt cutters wouldn't touch it. The fire marshal arrived at 10 a.m., right on schedule. Brielle pulled up 3 minutes later, followed by 2 board members and a man in an expensive suit who I assumed was their lawyer. That's where we started. The fire marshal's name was Doug Peterson. I'd met him twice at regional training conferences back in my Forest Service days. He recognized me immediately. Miguel Torres, he said, shaking his head. Didn't know this was your land. Vicente Torres was my grandfather. Understanding crossed his face. The old rancher who wouldn't sell. Hell of a man. He was. Doug looked at the locked gate, then at Brielle and her entourage, then back at me. I've got a job to do here, Miguel. This development needs a secondary fire access route. This road is listed on their approved plans. It's listed, I said, but it was never approved by me. No easement was ever granted. They assumed they could force it later. Brielle stepped forward. Mr. Peterson, this is obstruction of a lawful inspection, ma'am, Doug said, his voice carrying the weight of 30 years in emergency services. I don't work for you. I work for the county. And if Mr. Torres says this is private property with no easement, then I can't approve it as public fire access. The lawyer spoke up. We have documentation showing historical use. Historical use doesn't create an easement in Colorado without proof of continuous, uninterrupted access for 18 years. I've seen the court filings. You don't have it. Doug turned to me. They got any other options? I pulled out a map I'd prepared, topographical survey of the area with 6 alternative routes marked in red. 3 viable alternatives. 2 would require cutting new road through their own property on the south side. 1 would require upgrading the existing service drive on the east side to fire code width. Any of them would work. All of them would cost money. Doug studied the map. These look solid. Why didn't they use these? Cheaper to steal my land. Brielle's face flushed red. We are not stealing. You tried to force an easement that would cost me $50,000 a year in maintenance and liability, offering 0 compensation. And when I said no, you harassed me with false complaints and threatened litigation. What would you call it? The lawyer stepped in. Mr. Torres, we're prepared to offer $150,000 for a permanent easement, plus the HOA assumes all maintenance costs. No. $200,000. No. $250,000, final offer. I looked at Doug. Can he pass the inspection without this road? Not as currently planned, no. I looked at Brielle. Her yoga-tone confidence was gone. She looked small and desperate. Here's my offer, I said. One-time access, today only, so the fire marshal can inspect your alternative routes and approve whichever one you actually build. After that, this gate stays locked unless there's an active wildfire threatening structures, in which case I'll open it for emergency services because I'm not a monster. But no permanent easement. Ever. The lawyer started to speak, but Brielle cut him off. Fine. Yes. Whatever. I unlocked the gate. Doug spent 4 hours inspecting the development and the alternative routes. The service drive on the east side could be widened to code for about $80,000 in work. He approved it conditionally, giving them 90 days to complete construction. Ridgemont Heights passed their inspection. Barely. The HOA had to levy a special assessment, $1,400 per homeowner, to fund the new fire road. Brielle faced a recall vote in April. She lost 38-14. I heard she and her husband moved back to California in June. The Range Rover had a for sale sign the last time I drove past their house. The new HOA president was a retired civil engineer named Tom Hartwick. He stopped by my place in May with a bottle of decent whiskey and an apology. "We should have done this right from the start," he said. "Brielle kept telling us you were being unreasonable, but I looked at the actual documents. You were right about everything." "Appreciate that," I said. "If there's ever an actual emergency, wildfire, medical, whatever, and you need help, you call me. We owe you that much." We shook hands. "Good man." I still live on the ranch. I've cleared another 3 miles of fire breaks, thinned the ladder fuels around the structures, created defensible space according to protocols I helped write during my Forest Service years. When fire season comes, and it will, my land will be ready. The old logging road is still there, overgrown and healing. Deer use it now. I've seen elk tracks near the north end. Last week, I watched a black bear amble across it at dusk, stopping to scratch against a ponderosa that's probably been there since Vicente first saw this land. I got a letter last month from a law firm in Denver. They represent a development company interested in purchasing a portion or all of my 900 acres for responsible development in harmony with the natural environment. They're offering $4.2 million. I wrote back on Vicente's old typewriter, one sentence. "Not for sale." Some things matter more than money. Like keeping your word to a man who trusted you with his life's work. Like standing your ground when people with more money than sense try to bully you into giving up what's yours. Like remembering that private property means something and rights have responsibilities on both sides. I'm Miguel Torres. I'm 53 years old. I fought wildfires for 26 years, and now I'm protecting 900 acres from a different kind of threat. The kind that wears expensive yoga pants and thinks everything's for sale if you just push hard enough. The gate stays locked. The land stays wild. And every sunset, I pour a small whiskey and watch the light fade over the same ridgeline my grandfather loved. Vicente would be proud. And that's worth more than all the easements in Colorado.